Did you know that there is a common purple flowering shrub? You'll see it in people's yards here in Central Florida. That's actually an invasive species. Well, here to tell us about this plant is horticulture agent Clarissa Cherez. Clarissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So this is fascinating to me. When you brought this plant in, I've seen it in people's yards, but it's actually an invasive species. So my first question for you, we hear that term a lot. What is an invasive species?
So this plant I have for you today, it goes by many names. Mexican Petunia is the most common. Ruellia simplex is the scientific name. So this is an invasive species. An invasive species is going to be a plant that kind of takes over a natural area and will crowd out native species, as well as make it harder for other plants to grow. Some characteristics of invasive plants is that they might go from seed to full plant and then flowering and seeding in a very quick turnover. They can spread through underground root systems. They can even, any fragment of it can sometimes reproduce plants that will make it invasive. It grows very easily, which is the problem that it kind of creates problems for our native species.
It can take over. Okay, so you brought an example here. Now this one currently isn't flowering, but let's hold it up just so that people can see what it looks like.
Thankfully, this one isn't flowering. I was able to pull it out in time before the flowering process creates those seeds, which is going to create a whole nightmare of spreading the invasive species. This one is very common. As you can see, it has a very, very concentrated root system there. These guys are tough. When you're pulling it out of your yard, if you are not removing this root system, even if it's just like an inch of the plant here, this is going to produce a whole new plant again, and you're going to keep pruning it back. If you're not taking it by that root system, it's going to be an ongoing nightmare.
And they're really long too, Clarissa, because if you hold this up, you can see. I mean, this is a long, tall plant.
That one made it into made it in the yard way too long before it was noticed and pulled. But about 4 feet can be some of the height of these guys. This is a very common plant, and it can also be purchased in a lot of nurseries and plant.
And that shocks me, Clarissa, because you would think that something that's categorized as an invasive species wouldn't be sold at our local garden center. But apparently it is. And along those lines, I want to show folks a picture. I'm going to hold this up right here. So this is what the bloom looks like. And as soon as you showed me this picture, I realized, oh my goodness, I've seen those in people's landscapes. Okay, so let's say that we realize we have some of these in our yard. What can we do? Is there something else we can plant instead?
You can always contact your local extension office. Our plant clinic is happy to help, whether identifying or making recommendations on how to. We always want to recommend the least toxic method of removal first, which for us is going to be hand removal. Okay. From there, if that's not suitable, then you can resort to other chemical-related ways to get rid of invasive species. But you're also going to want to plant something in its place that is going to be Florida-friendly. A good example of this is going to be porterweed here. So porterweed has a lot of similar characteristics, but in a good way. It has the pretty purple flowers to it. It can grow in another form of a shrub. This one I took from our garden this morning that was about 4 feet tall. So similar characteristics there. And this is a great one to add some color to your yard that's not an invasive plant.
And do these blooms, is this the size of the flower? Okay, so it's a smaller bloom, but
it can produce more flowers up top there, but we only got one bloom so far this time.
Okay, and you were saying this little booklet that I held up is a wonderful resource for people. Tell us about this.
This is the Plant This, Not That guide. It was written by some colleagues up at the University of Florida. There are 4 different authors. I am not one of them, but I love using this with all my teaching and when I'm even selecting my own plants. So Britain's Wild Petunia, it'll have the invasive species on the top, and then it'll have some good Florida-friendly alternatives that you can plant instead on the bottom portion.
So I'm thinking you could even take this to the garden center with you.
Yes.
And then you can look at some of these plants that, even though they might be selling them at your local garden store, are not necessarily the best for your garden.
Yes, that is the whole guide, the whole purpose of the guide being pocket size so that you could bring it with you. And it is all laminated, so it's almost a little bit more waterproof. And with this, it is available through the UF IFAS Extension bookstore.
Okay, what a great resource. And are we seeing, Clarissa, more invasive species these days than maybe, I don't know, decades past?
Yes, every year plants are evaluated as to whether or not they're becoming invasive. So we're also seeing more plants that weren't listed as invasive, like tropical milkweed, is now on the invasive species list because after observations and kind of checking those different categories, we're noticing that more plants are invasive than they used to be.
So again, just to sum up, invasive means that it's something that's sort of choking out the other native plants. It typically grows very quickly, spreads easily.
It's a great summary. Yes, that's exactly the case.
Okay. Clarissa, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. And we definitely want folks to know that this resource is available. You said the IFAS bookstore. Is it available online too?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you just go to the website?
You can Google Plant This, Not That guide, and I'm sure it'll pop up.
Okay, wow, this is great. I am definitely going to get one of these. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. Yes.
You're welcome.
It was great to have you here today. All right, folks, so hopefully you got some good tips today about the fact that you can be on top of what invasive species might be in your yard and what some of the alternatives are so you can have a healthier and more flourishing garden.